Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for the rational perspective on RB Salzburg 3, Chelsea 5, the penultimate pre-season friendly for Frank Lampard's team before we head into the Premier League season. And it was another goal fest, just like Reading on Sunday. This game had a lot of attacking, not a lot of great defending, which we'll get into. There really was a stark contrast between attack and defence and the imbalances between them. And on one end of the pitch and attack, there was some really positive stuff that I think is really exciting as we edge closer to the season. But there is some concerning things at the back that need to be addressed, as was spoken about against Reading. I think the first thing to discuss, obviously, is who started. And I think the biggest thing about this game was the amount of game time the team that did start get. They got about 70 minutes, over 70 minutes before Frank did ring in the changes. And I think the bulk of that team that started, the 4-2-3-1, will be starting at Old Trafford. I just believe it was almost similar to the team that started against Barca. And I think I said that in that video as well. Look at that team. Keppel was back in goal. Back four of Dave, Zuma, Luiz and Emerson. The midfield two of Kovacic and Jorginho, which has worked so well, I think, over pre-season. And the three behind the striker was going to be interesting because we talked about Mount and Barkley. Would Frank find a way to play them both? He didn't do it from the start, so Barkley took number 10, Pulisic, Pedro out wide, and then Tammy Abraham getting a nod up front. And I think that the biggest positive about this game for me was the midfield and the combinations in midfield between the likes of Barkley, who was outstanding once again, Kovacic, Jorginho, and then linking that with Pulisic, who Captain America himself had a wonderful night in Salzburg, and it was great to see him hit the net before we do get into the proper stuff. And it did start quite edgy for Chelsea. Salzburg definitely came out of the traps. They have started their season already and clearly wanted to make an impact. They are going to be a Champions League side that we could draw in the group stage. So good quality side that was going to give another test. And there was a few times where players were out of position. I remember once Luiz was out of position and they got in, but luckily we were able to eventually clear our lines. There wasn't a lot of space for the likes of Jorginho or Kovacic to really get out and give it to the likes of Barkley, who could then set the likes of Pulisic away. But once the game calmed down and once Chelsea got used to the press and were able to get round it, we played some lovely stuff. It was the intensity, the level of intensity and the quickness within our passing and movement that I really think was the key last night. That really did make me think we are getting ready for the season, because there seemed to be a switch, and mainly it did come from both Barkley and Pulisic. And Pulisic, just on the break, his pace was just devastating. The first goal, the composure, to have that pace, to also take the ball down and then find the corner in the way he did. Lovely finish, and then almost a minute later, winning us a penalty. And once again, that left side was so crucial in that first half to nearly all of our good attacking play. And it all came from switching the ball from right to left so quickly. Barkley, just outstanding. Once again, he has been a changed man this pre-season. And I think that his connection with Pulisic as well in that first half, hopefully is something Frank can work on, because it was the third goal. The third goal, that ball over the top from Barkley was something Lamps would have been proud of, I tell you. That ball over the top, the touch and then the finish, top class all round from Chelsea. And Barkley continuing to look like the player who will be starting at Old Trafford, and I think Lampard is going to have a tough time shifting him out of that team, because he has not let up this pre-season. It's so great to see for a player that I think for many of us, flattered to deceive at points last season. He had his good moments, but he did have his down moments. And I think for me, it's with Barkley, it's simply making that switch up. You know, he looks good against opposition that don't press him as well, but once he comes up against the likes of Manchester United, can he do it against the likes of Manchester United? I think that's going to be the big key this season. If he can, he's going to be a massively key player for Chelsea. And he took the penalty as well, the second penalty, lovely penalty taken. We need to find a new penalty taker in since Hazard's left, so Barkley could be that man. As well in that first half, obviously, then the three goals themselves, which just set Chelsea away, and the lovely attacking play that came from that. I also thought defensively, although it started off quite shaky, I think biggest positive for me was Kurt Zouma. I've had my doubts about him this preseason, but I think last night was the closest I've seen him to back where he was when he was with us a few years ago before that injury. Really looked physical, really done well. Not only the physical and winning your aerial duels and winning your battles, but also just making right decisions. I think that's been a few times, and I guess it's just down to match fitness that now he's getting that. And I think him and Luiz actually worked quite well in that first half, so that could be the pairing that he goes with. Based on last night, that would be the pairing I'd go with. And I think, going forward, Emerson as well just streaks ahead of Alonso at left back. So that was a positive in itself. The frustrating thing was, came out sloppy and conceded from a corner almost similarly to the way we did against Reading. And that's just unfortunate. And once again, it's happened. So it's not just a fluke and one moment in pre-season where there's a lapse in concentration. This has happened twice now in pre-season. And it's something Frank's got to really fix. And as I said at the start of this video, the difference between defence and attack was so startling last night, and will probably sort of mute some expectations from Chelsea fans, which probably is actually a good thing, because they were just so different. The attack in the midfield just blended so well, and the chemistry and the movement just looked absolutely where it needed to be. But the defence looked shaky, especially in that second half, and especially as well when Frank made the changes. You could see also the drop in levels. Zappacosta giving away a penalty, Alonso looking shaky, and we did go on to concede a further 2 goals. And that is concerning, because the first 2 teams were playing Manchester United and Liverpool. You cannot be making those mistakes and expect to get away with it. So it's down to Frank organisation. Tammy Abraham was back at the corner again, and the same thing happened, I believe. Tammy and Luiz figuring out who's supposed to be marking a player. That's just the basics and needs to be drilled down once we get to the start. We do look really disorganised and a bit like chaotic at the back, which is something that Frank is going to need to work on. But there was another few moments in the second half to really get excited about, and that was Pedro's wonderful backheel volley into the top corner. What a goal that was. Just outstanding. You had to sort of, it was one of those goals where you couldn't believe he was attempting it, and then once it went in, it was outstanding. What a player Pedro is at times. The quality he has, as has always been the case, but it's just that consistency level. But class never goes away. And as well, Ross Barkley once again driving the team forward, and a lovely chipped ball into the box, which can't be discounted in that goal. It will come down to Pedro because of the technique, and it is an absolutely world-class finish. But Barkley once again being the architects of that goal, being so crucial and being involved in all of Chelsea's best creative play. I think that's another key thing with Ross's performance. So yeah, that was 4-1, and then they did get a goal back, and then Batshuayi, who came on for Tammy Abraham, who didn't have the best of games going forward. He did hold up the ball, I think, quite well at points, but didn't have his best game. Batshuayi came on the pitch, didn't have long before full time, but definitely did get a goal and was relentless in his attempt to get that goal. Wasn't to be denied even after the keeper saving his first opportunity and drilled it in. And that is a position, as we spoke about over pre-season, that is still up for grabs. Who is going to take that shirt? I would lean after last night maybe to Giroud because of experience level, but that's only because it's so close. Tammy, all through pre-season I've had mixed feelings. I would prefer to go with a younger striker, but I wouldn't blame Frank for going with the experience of Giroud. But Giroud didn't get any time last night, and he clearly does trust Tammy enough to start him in several games now. He started him against Barcelona as well. So my hope is Tammy and Michy will be fighting out, and the last game is going to be key, I think, for that. Who starts in that game, who gets the majority of the time, I think will most likely be starting at Old Trafford. So that is it, guys, for my rational perspective on last night's friendly. Let me know your opinions on the game. Who was your man in the match? What were your concerns and feelings as we get closer and closer to opening day? So thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me on Twitter at SonofChelsea, and I'll see you again.